Baseball is supposed to be America's pastime, a gentleman's game. But beneath the peanuts and Cracker Jacks, beneath the seventh inning stretch, lies a darker truth. For over 60 years, America's pastime has harbored a secret code, a culture of violence that turns heroes into warriors and legends into monsters.
Hit John Roseborough on the head with a bat following knockdown pitches to Wills and Fairley.
This is the story of when baseball became a battlefield.
Bautista, now there's a fight at second and Odor smokes Bautista.
When the diamond turned red and when America watched its heroes go to war. August 22nd, 1965, America was burning. The Watts riots, Vietnam, the Civil Rights Movement, and in baseball, the most heated rivalry in the sport was about to explode. The Dodgers and Giants brought their New York hatred to California. But what happened that day in Candlestick Park, that changed everything. Juan Marichal, the Dominican dandy, a future Hall of Famer with a devastating high leg kick and a fierce temper. John Roseborough, the Dodgers all-star catcher, tough as nails, never backed down from anyone. Third inning, Michael steps into the batter's box. The tension is suffocating. Koufax's pitch sails wide, but as Roseborough throws the ball back, the return throw buzzes Marichal's ear. And then, in a moment that would haunt baseball forever.
Well, we have a bulletin from San Francisco on the message board now, and I quote,
Marichal strikes. An eyewitness said, "I'll never forget the sound, the crack of the bat, and then the silence. 42,000 people and you could hear my wife break wind from being nervous." Roseborough required 14 stitches. Marichal was suspended 8 games. But the real damage was the integrity of the game itself. This moment created a new code where violence wasn't just accepted, it was expected. But 28 years later, that code would create the most famous fight in baseball history. August 4th, 1993, Arlington, Texas. 46-year-old Nolan Ryan was in his final season. 7 no-hitters. 5,714 strikeouts, a living legend. A former teammate said, even at 46, Nolan could still bring it. But more than that, he had this aura, this intimidation factor that was off the charts. Robin Ventura, 26 years old, all-star third baseman. He thought he could take on anyone. Third inning, Ryan's fastball finds Ventura's back. It was Ryan's only hit batsman of the entire season. Ventura had a choice: take his base or make history. According to a sports psychologist, what you're seeing is youth versus experience, emotion versus control.
Look at this.
Ventura was running on adrenaline. Ryan was calculating. What happened next became legend. Ryan wasn't even ejected, Ventura was. The message was clear: respect your elders. More importantly, put some spec on OG Ryan's name. But this fight did more than create a legend. It established a new rule. In baseball, age and experience trump youth and aggression. 10 years later, that lesson would be forgotten with devastating consequences. October 11th, 2003, Game 3 of the American League Championship Series. Yankees versus Red Sox. Baseball's greatest rivalry at its peak. According to an MLB executive, the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry in the early 2000s was unlike anything we'd ever seen. The hatred was real. The stakes were everything. Pedro Martinez, 5'11", 170 pounds. But pound for pound, the most intimidating pitcher in baseball. Fourth inning, Martinez drills Yankees outfielder Kareem Garcia. The benches are warned. Bottom of the fourth, Roger Clemens retaliates, throwing at Manny Ramirez's head. And then chaos. But in the middle of the mayhem, something shocking happened. Don Zimmer, 72 years old, Yankees bench coach, a baseball lifer who'd seen it all. Zimmer charged at the 31-year-old Martinez. Martinez's response was swift and brutal. According to a former Red Sox player, "When I saw Zimmer on the ground, that's when it hit me. This wasn't just a baseball fight anymore. This was something else entirely."
Closer, he throws a job. and I had no choice but to defend myself. I didn't do anything afterwards. I kept my guard up though.
9 months later, the rivalry exploded again. A-Rod gets drilled. Words are exchanged with pitcher Bronson Arroyo. Then Jason Varitek stepped in. The shove heard round the world. According to a baseball analyst, that moment changed everything. The Red Sox used that fight as motivation. They went on an incredible run and eventually broke the curse of the Bambino.
It hasn't happened at Fenway Park for 95 years.
Many believe this fight was the turning point, the moment the Red Sox finally stood up to the Yankees and changed history. But baseball's violence wasn't contained to America. On the world stage, national pride would turn a game into a war. March 9, 2013, the World Baseball Classic, baseball's version of the World Cup, Mexico versus Canada. When national pride meets baseball violence, the results are explosive. 9th inning, Mexico leading 9-3. The game was over, or so everyone thought. Mexican pitcher Arnold Leon gets the signal, not for a strike, but for revenge. Rene Tassoni, Canadian outfielder, he had no idea what was coming. Leon's fastball finds its target, but Tassoni's reaction was swift. What followed was unlike anything seen in international baseball. According to a WBC official, this wasn't just a baseball fight, this was an international incident. We had players representing their countries, and it got out of hand quickly. The violence spread to the stands. Fans fought fans. Security was overwhelmed. When the dust settled, multiple players were ejected, suspended, and fined. But the damage to international baseball's reputation was done. Back in the majors, a new generation of players was about to take baseball violence to another level. May 29, 2017, San Francisco. The story begins 3 years earlier. 2014 National League Division Series, 21-year-old Bryce Harper takes Hunter Strickland deep, twice. Strickland never forgot. For 3 years, he waited. 3 years later, Strickland got his revenge. 98 miles per hour, right to the hip. Harper's reaction was instant. The helmet throw heard round the world. 3 years. Hunter held on to that for 3 years. That's not baseball anymore. That's personal vendetta.
Harper wants a piece of Hunter Strickland. Here they go.
But if Harper Strickland was personal, what happened in Texas was legendary. Jose Bautista, October 14, 2015, Game 5 of the ALDS. The bat flip that changed baseball forever. The Rangers never forgot. 7 months later, they got their chance. Matt Bush's 98-mile-per-hour fastball finds Bautista's ribs. Message sent. But Bautista wasn't done. 8th inning, double play ball. Bautista's slide was late and dirty. Rougned Odor had seen enough. What happened next became the most famous punch in baseball history. That was a perfect right cross, textbook form.
Odor smokes Bautista, and Bautista picked on the wrong guy as Odor came right at him.
Bautista never saw it coming. In boxing, that's a knockout punch. The punch was seen around the world. Millions of views, countless memes. Baseball had its Mike Tyson moment. But perhaps the most audacious fight in modern baseball happened in Cincinnati, my hometown. Amir Garrett, 6'5", 228 pounds, former college basketball player turned pitcher. The Pirates' dugout was chirping. Garrett had heard enough. What happened next was unprecedented. One man versus an entire team. I've never seen anything like it. Garrett literally fought the whole dugout. It was like something out of a movie. Yasiel Puig came to Garrett's aid despite being traded to Cleveland mid-game. The fight lasted 5 minutes, multiple ejections, multiple suspensions, but Garrett became a legend. But as these fights became more violent, more personal, MLB knew something had to change. For decades, MLB turned a blind eye to violence. Fights sold tickets, they created storylines, they were part of the game's fabric. There was always this attitude of boys will be boys, but when you have 72-year-old coaches getting thrown to the ground, When you have players getting concussions from punches, that's when you realize it's gone too far. The league began cracking down, automatic ejections for charging the mound, longer suspensions, stricter warnings. Today's game is different, cleaner, more controlled. The game's evolved, we settle things differently now. Social media, analytics, money. There's too much at stake to throw it away in a fight. But the legacy of these fights lives on. They changed careers, they changed rivalries, they changed the game itself. Some found redemption. Marichal and Roseboro became friends. Their reconciliation showed that forgiveness was possible. Others learned to laugh at their mistakes. Ventura now jokes about charging Ryan. "Worst decision of my life," he says. Some carried regret to their graves. Pedro Martinez attended Don Zimmer's funeral, still haunted by that October night. These fights represent something deeper about American culture, our relationship with violence, with masculinity, with competition. Baseball was just the stage. Today's players are bigger, stronger, faster than ever before. The potential for violence is greater than it's ever been. But they've learned to channel that aggression differently into their performance, into their craft. Because in the end, the greatest battles in baseball aren't fought with fists. They're won with skill, determination, and respect for the game. The men in this story were products of their time, different eras, different codes, different rules. But baseball endures, the game survives, and maybe that's the real lesson. That no matter how dark the moments, how brutal the fights, how deep the hatred, the game is bigger than any one moment, bigger than any one fight. Baseball is America's pastime. It has always been, and it will always be, even when it bleeds.